Welcome to the Unreal BootCamp lesson on requesting a leaderboard. In this lesson, we're going to use the Get Global Leaderboard page request that we looked at in the previous lesson in the Cloud Code API Explorer. This time, we are going to make the request in our Unreal app. Taking a look at the API reference, this request takes in 4 parameters: the leaderboard ID, the sort order, and the start and end indexes. Click the JSON response to familiarize yourself with the data that the request will return. Open the Unreal editor. We need to create 3 classes to make managing the leaderboard data simpler. In the C++ classes Space Shooter folder, right-click and select New C++ class. The first class we're creating will not have a parent class. Name the class Leaderboard Entry. Click Create Class. Once that's done, right-click and select New C++ class. This class will also not have a parent class. Name the class Leaderboard. Click Create Class. Once that's done, we can create our final class, right-click and select New C++ class. The last class we're creating will have a parent class. At the top, click Show All Classes, then select Object as the parent class. Name the class Leaderboards Manager. Click Create Class. Once the code is finished compiling, quit the Unreal editor. In Xcode, open the leaderboard entry.h file. Delete the default constructor and destructor that were generated. Declare a public constructor that takes in 3 parameters. Next, declare several getter and setter methods for the nickname, time, and rank. There's also a setter and getter method for determining whether this entry is the user's score or not. Declare a quartet of private member variables. Once that's done, open the leaderboard entry.cpp file. Delete the default constructor and destructor that were generated. Implement the constructor and initialize all member variables. By default, the mIsUserScore bool is set to false. Next, implement the setNickname and getNickname methods. After that, implement the setTime and getTime methods. Then, implement the getRank and setRank methods. Finally, implement the getIsUserScore and setIsUserScore methods. Navigate to the leaderboard.h file. At the top, include leaderboard entry.h. Delete the default constructor and destructor that were generated. Declare a public constructor that takes in an f-string called leaderboard name and a reference to a t-array of leaderboard entry objects called leaderboard entries. Declare a tree of public methods. The first method is called getName and returns an f-string. The next method is called getLeaderboardEntryAtIndex and takes in an index of type int and returns a pointer to a leaderboard entry object. The last method is called getCount. Declare a private member variable of type t-array of leaderboard entry objects called mLeaderboardEntries. Then declare a private member variable of type f-string called mName. Navigate to the leaderboard.cpp file. Delete the default constructor and destructor that were generated. Implement the constructor and initialize all the member variables. Implement the getName method, and in the body, return the mName member variable. Next, implement the getLeaderboardEntryAtIndex method. Safety check the index. If the index is valid, then return the address for the corresponding object in the mLeaderboardEntries t-array. Otherwise, if the index isn't valid, return a null pointer. Finally, implement the getCount method. In the body, return the number of elements in the mLeaderboardEntries t-array. Navigate to the leaderboardsmanager.h file. This class may seem unnecessary right now, but it will become super useful in future lessons when we implement additional leaderboards. At the top, include leaderboard.h, leaderboardentry.h, and constants.h. Declare a public default constructor and a default destructor. Then declare a public method called addLeaderboard that takes in a const reference to a leaderboard object. Next, declare a public method called getCount. Declare a pair of public methods that return a leaderboard pointer. The first method is called getLeaderboardByName and takes in an f-string as the parameter. The second method is called getLeaderboardAtIndex and takes in an int as the parameter. Declare a public method called setUserTime. Declare a private t-array of leaderboard objects called mLeaderboards. Then declare a private member variable of type float called mUserTime. Navigate to the leaderboardsmanager.cpp file. Implement the addLeaderboard method. The first thing that we need to do is to remove all the existing leaderboards from the mLeaderboards t-array with the same name as the one that we are trying to add. Next, add the leaderboard object to the mLeaderboard's TArray. Finally, if the user time is set, i.e. it's greater than 0, get the last leaderboard object in the TArray and loop through all the entries in the leaderboard and check to see if the times match the user time. If one does, set the isUserScore flag to true for that leaderboard entry. We're making the effort to track the user's score so that we can give that score a different color when displaying the leaderboard. Implement the getCount method. In the body, return the number of elements in the mLeaderboard's TArray. Implement the getLeaderboardByName method. In the body, loop through the mLeaderboard's TArray and compare the parameter with the name of each leaderboard. If the leaderboard's name matches the parameter, then return the address of the leaderboard object. In the event that there isn't a leaderboard's name that matches the parameter, return a null pointer. Implement the getLeaderboardByIndex method. In the body, safety check the index to ensure that's valid. If the index is valid, return the address of the leaderboard object at that index. If the index is not valid, return a null pointer. Finally, implement the setUserTime method. You might be curious why we're doing a conversion here, but we're doing the same conversion that we'll do when we send the score to the server, and then again when we convert it back to seconds when we receive the score back from the server. Navigate to the constants.h file. Declare a constant for the main leaderboard ID, as well as the min and max index values when retrieving the leaderboard page from brainCloud. Navigate to the network callback.h file. At the top, include leaderboard.h. Declare a pair of private callback methods for requesting a leaderboard page. Navigate to the network manager.h file. Declare a pair of public overloaded methods called requestLeaderboard. Then declare a pair of private callback functions, making sure to mark the methods as a ufunction with the callback category, as these methods will be invoked from the network callback handler's delegates. Finally, declare a private network callback handler object called mGetGlobalLeaderboardCallback. This will be passed in when we make the brainCloud request. Navigate to the networkmanager.cbp file. And in the constructor, bind the private callback methods we just declared to the callback handler success and failure delegates. Next, implement the first request leaderboard method. First, check to see if the user is authenticated. And if the user is not authenticated, log a meaningful error message. And then, if set, invoke the callbacks on leaderboard request failed method. If the user is authenticated, invoke the brainCloud's leaderboard services getGlobalLeaderboard page request. Pass in the leaderboard ID, the sort order, the start and end index parameters, and the address of the mGetGlobalLeaderboard callback object. After that, implement the overloaded request leaderboard method. In the body, invoke the overloaded request leaderboard method, passing in the leaderboard ID parameter and the constants for the min and max index for the leaderboard page. Scroll to the bottom of the file. Implement the onGetGlobalLeaderboard callback method. In the body, log the response data. Declare a TArray of leaderboard entry objects. Create a JSON reader using the JSON response data. Then declare a JSON object and using the JSON reader, deserialize the JSON data. If the JSON data was deserialized successfully, we can now start to parse the data. Get the data object from the root JSON object. Then from the data object, get the leaderboard array. Declare some local variables. Loop through all the elements in the leaderboard array. Parse the extra data object and get the nickname string. Then parse the rank and score values. Convert the score from milliseconds to seconds and store the result in a variable called time, and place the nickname, rank, and time onto the leaderboard entry's TArray to create a leaderboard entry object. Parse the leaderboard ID from the JSON data. Create a leaderboard object and pass in the leaderboard ID and the TArray of leaderboard entry objects as the arguments. If set, invoke the callbacks on leaderboard request completed method, passing in the leaderboard object as the argument. Finally, implement the onGetGlobalLeaderboard error method. Log an error message with the error response, and if set, invoke the callbacks on leaderboard request failed method. Navigate to the Space Shooter Game Mode base.h file. At the top, include leaderboards manager.h. Then declare a public method called getLeaderboardsManager. Scroll down and override the onLeaderboardRequest completed function as a private method. Declare a private member variable called mLeaderboardsManager of type uLeaderboardManagerPointer. Make sure to mark this member variable as a U property to retain ownership of the pointer and to ensure the Unreal garbage collector doesn't delete the object on us. Navigate to the Space Shooter Game Mode base.cpp file. In the constructor, initialize the mLeaderboardsManager pointer to null. Then create an instance of the uLeaderboardsManager object and store the result in the mLeaderboardsManager member variable. Scroll down and implement the getLeaderboardsManager method, returning the mLeaderboardsManager member variable in the body. Scroll all the way to the bottom and implement the onLeaderboardRequestCompleted method. Add the leaderboard object to the leaderboards manager, then hide the connecting dialog and show the main menu. Scroll up and find the onAuthenticationRequestCompleted method. Delete the 2 lines that hide the connecting dialog and show the main menu. In their place, invoke the network manager's requestLeaderboard method. Navigate to the leaderboard element user-widget.h file. This class is responsible for displaying a single leaderboard entry in the leaderboards dialog. At the top, include leaderboardEntry.h. Then declare a public method called setLeaderboardEntry. Navigate to the leaderboard element user-widget.cpp file and implement the setLeaderboardEntry method. Set the rank, name, and time text values. Then we'll check to see if the leaderboard entry is the user's score, and if it is, we'll set the text color to green. Otherwise, the text color will be white. Navigate to the leaderboard dialog widget.cpp file. At the top, include leaderboard.h and leaderboardEntry.h. Scroll down and find the onShow method. Delete the statement that invokes the resetLeaderboardData method and the to-do comment below that. In their place, invoke the setLeaderboardData method, passing in the main leaderboard ID constant as the argument. Scroll down and find the setLeaderboardData method. Delete the to-do comment. First, invoke the resetLeaderboardData method. Then, get the Space Shooter Game Mode base pointer from the game world. Safety check that the game mode pointer is not null. Using the leaderboard ID parameter, get the leaderboard pointer from the game mode's leaderboards manager. Safety check the leaderboard pointer to ensure it's not null. Loop through the leaderboard's entries. And then set each leaderboard element user widget's leaderboard entry data. Click the Run button to build the project and launch the Unreal editor. Once in the Unreal editor, run the game. Navigate to the brainCloud dialog and click the Leaderboards button. The Leaderboards dialog will appear empty. That's because we haven't posted any scores to it. Stop the game. We're going to navigate to the brainCloud portal and add a high score using the Cloud Code API Explorer. Click the Design tab on the left, then Cloud Code, followed by API Explorer. After we authenticate, select the Leaderboard service. Then select the post-scored leaderboard request. Enter the main leaderboard ID and then format the score that we want to post. Click Execute to make the request. Our score has been posted. Head back to the Unreal editor and run the game again. Navigate to the brainCloud dialog, open the Leaderboards dialog, and notice it contains the score we just posted. Posting a score to a leaderboard is the next lesson in the Unreal BootCamp.